Tony Bennett was born on this date. Welcome back to On This Date. Today's date is August 3rd, 2023. It is the 215th day of the year. There's 150 days left in 2023. It's the 31st Thursday in the 31st week and the 44th day of summer. You got 51 days left until fall. Go out and get some of that vitamin D while you still can. That's one of the first things my doctor told me when I moved to Oregon. Take vitamin D supplements. You don't get enough here. Today, it's time to celebrate National Big Forehead Day on August 3rd. This special day was created to recognize and honor those individuals with big foreheads, as well as appreciate the unique beauty of big foreheads in all their glory. I dated a girl for a while that had a big forehead. She was beautiful. She said when they were younger, they used to call her 8-head. All right, let's see what else August 3rd has given us. 1829, the Treaty of Lewistown is signed by the Shawnee and Seneca people, exchanging land in Ohio for land west of the Mississippi River. 1900, Firestone Tire and Rubber Company is founded. 1921, Major League Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis confirms the ban of 8 Chicago White Sox players known as the Black Sox, the day after they were acquitted by a Chicago court. If you don't know, the Black Sox were a group of baseball players that played for the Chicago White Sox that threw the World Series. There was some mob stuff going on, and 8 of the players, they decided to not play as hard. 1936, Jesse Owens wins the 100-meter dash, defeating Ralph Metcalfe at the Berlin Olympics. 1946, Santa Claus Land, the world's first themed amusement park, opens in Santa Claus, Indiana. 1958, the world's first nuclear submarine, the USS Nautilus, becomes the first vessel to complete a submerged transit of the geographical North Pole. You know, the whole thought of being on a submarine has changed for a lot of people since that Titanic sub implosion thing. God, what a fiasco that was. 1972, the United States Senate ratifies the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. 1977, the Tandy Corporation announces the TRS-80, one of the world's first mass-produced personal computers. I had one of these, and actually it was the deep dive last year. 2004, the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty reopens after being closed since the September 11th attacks. Movies released on August 3rd, 2018, Christopher Robin. This was part of Disney's Winnie the Pooh franchise. The story tells of a working family man, Christopher Robin, who begins to rediscover the joys of life with help from a honey-loving bear, obviously Pooh Bear, or Winnie the Pooh. The movie starred Ewan McGregor, Haley Atwell, Brad Garrett, Chris O'Dowd, and Peter Capaldi. The whole Winnie the Pooh story I find is fascinating. Christopher Robin was the character, the human boy who hung out with these forest creatures. We all know the story of Winnie the Pooh. What most people don't know is Christopher Robin was actually a real person. The guy who wrote it, A.A. Milne, his son was named Christopher Robin Milne, and he sort of wrote the book for his son. If you look at Winnie the Pooh as an adult, and through a psychological point of view, I guess you could say, you realize that Winnie the Pooh was teaching us something. Winnie the Pooh was created in 1924. Back then, his name was Edward Bear. Later on, 2 years to be exact, Winnie the Pooh came about. When I was a senior in high school in the mid-'80s, I finally realized something about Winnie the Pooh after I read a book called The Tao of Pooh. The Tao of Pooh is a 1982 book written by a man named Benjamin Hoff. The book is intended as an introduction to the Eastern belief system of Taoism, or Taoism. I've heard it called both. I've always called it Taoism, but I do know that it's supposed to be Taoism. Sort of. When it was changed to Latin, it became Taoism. Then the Chinese didn't like it. They came up with their own way of spelling it. It became Taoism. It's complicated. Call it whatever you want. But the Tao of Pooh is a book that teaches you about the philosophy by using the 6 characters of Winnie the Pooh. Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, Kanga, Tigger, Owl, and Rabbit. There's a few other characters that show up in different movies and cartoons, but those were all done by Disney. They weren't in the original book. They all have their different personalities and their quirks, and Pooh being the most enlightened of all of them, because he is the uncarved block. He doesn't worry about things. He doesn't get excited. Pooh just exists. Very interesting book if you ever get a chance. Benjamin Hoff actually worked here in Portland, Oregon as a tree pruner at the Portland Japanese Garden in Washington Park while he was writing the book. Born on August 3rd, 1926, the great Tony Bennett. Sadly, he just died a few days back on the 21st of July, 2023. He is a singer known for his rendition of show tunes, jazz, and popular songs like I Left My Heart in San Francisco, also Rags to Riches. He dropped out of school to work as a copy boy in order to help support his family. He was a painting and music student at New York School of Industrial Arts. Tony Bennett liked to get married. He married Patricia Beach in 1952, Sandra Grant in 1971, and Susan Crowe in 2007. He had 4 children, 2 daughters named Antonia and Joanna, and 2 sons named Danny and Day. He was born in Long Island City, New York, and died, like I said, on July 21st, 2023 in Manhattan, New York. He was 96 years old and only 10 days away from his birthday. Died on August 3rd, 1966, Lenny Bruce, legendary stand-up comedian and social critic who became a counterculture icon after he was repeatedly arrested for obscenity. He was portrayed by Dustin Hoffman in the 1974 movie called Lenny. Obviously I wasn't around when Lenny Bruce was alive, but when I became a comedian, I was drawn to his story and all the things he went through just to be a comedian. He was the first comic that wasn't that old vaudeville, take my wife, please, and telling jokes. He was telling stories, and he was a social critic, which is very common these days. But back in 1966, they were like, what are you doing? You're not even a comedian. A lot of comedy clubs wouldn't let him play, even though he always packed the house when he did play. Years later, people like George Carlin came along, and then Richard Pryor, they were kind of doing what he was doing. Before Lenny Bruce, you didn't say anything obscene in your act. On August 3rd, 1966, Lenny Bruce was found dead in the bathroom of his Hollywood Hills home. There was a photo taken of him, and it was obviously a drug overdose. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.